The borders on every map you have ever seen were drawn by people who were solving a symbolic problem, not a geographic one. The border between the United States and Canada runs along the 49th parallel for most of its length, a mathematically precise line that corresponds to no geographic feature, no cultural boundary, no historical settlement pattern, and no ecological transition. It was drawn in 1818 because two empires needed a line, and a line needed to be agreed upon. The 49th parallel was chosen because it was unambiguous, a mathematical abstraction that could be placed on a map and referenced without dispute. That is how most of the world's borders were drawn, not as geographic descriptions of where one community ended and another began, as symbolic assertions of where one sovereign authority ended and another began, assertions made in the symbolic medium of the map, enforced by the institutional authority of the states that made them and treated as natural features of the world by the generations born into them. In 2009, political geographer David Newman published a comprehensive analysis of border theory, the most widely cited survey of border studies in the contemporary political geography literature. Newman's central finding: borders are never primarily geographic phenomena. They are symbolic phenomena, institutional assertions about the scope of authority that are materialized in the landscape through enforcement rather than drawn from it through observation. By the end of this video, you will know exactly when and why borders were first drawn as symbolic boundaries, how those symbolic boundaries were materialized into geographic reality, and why the borders that feel like natural features of the world were decisions made by specific people who solved specific institutional problems, and who created many of the conflicts that the generations after them inherited. The line on the map is not geography. It is a claim, and someone is still fighting for it. The symbolic border preceded the political one by several thousand years, and the pre-political symbolic border reveals the specific cognitive function that borders perform independently of their political content. Anthropologist Fredrik Barth documented in his foundational 1969 Ethnic Groups and Boundaries that the borders between human social groups are not produced by the physical boundaries between territories. They are produced by the symbolic processes through which groups differentiate themselves from each other, through dress, language, ritual, and custom, and the geographic expression of those symbolic differentiations is a secondary phenomenon rather than a primary one. The cognitive mechanism Barth identified: the border is not a line that separates two territories. It is a categorical boundary that separates two symbolic systems, two ways of organizing meaning, authority, and identity. And the geographic expression of that boundary is produced by the symbolic boundary's prior existence. This means that every geographic border has a symbolic predecessor, a categorical distinction between us and them that existed in the minds of the relevant populations before any cartographer drew a line between them. The map formalizes a symbolic reality that the populations were already inhabiting. The specific transition from symbolic boundary to formal political border is most extensively documented in the history of European state formation, the process through which the symbolic boundaries between medieval lordships, feudal territories, and city-states were progressively formalized into the definite borders of the modern nation-state. Political historian Charles Tilly documented in his 1990 Coercion, Capital, and European States that the European border formation process was driven not by geographic discovery, but by the fiscal and military requirements of the emerging nation-states. States needed definite borders not to describe where their populations lived, but to define the limits of their taxation authority, the geographic scope within which the state could extract resources to fund the military capacity that maintained the border. The border was an assertion of taxation authority before it was an assertion of territorial sovereignty, and the specific borders that were drawn reflected the specific bargaining outcomes between competing authority claims rather than any geographic or demographic logic. The symbolic predecessor of the modern European state border was the medieval diocese boundary, the administrative division of the Catholic Church that organized the geographic scope of ecclesiastical authority. Historian Robert Bartlett documented in his 1993 The Making of Europe that the medieval diocese boundaries were the most extensively mapped and institutionally enforced territorial divisions in medieval Europe, predating the development of the secular state's territorial claims by several centuries. The diocese boundaries were drawn not to describe the geography of Christian settlement, but to define the scope of episcopal authority, the territory within which a specific bishop exercised ecclesiastical jurisdiction. The symbolic assertion of authority preceded and shaped the geographic boundary, not the reverse. The colonial border is the most consequential application of the symbolic boundary as institutional assertion principle in the modern period, and the most extensively documented case of the political consequences that follow when symbolic boundaries are imposed on populations that did not participate in their creation. Political geographer Jeffrey Herbst documented in his 2000 States and Power in Africa that the borders drawn by European colonial powers at the Berlin Conference of 1884 and 1885, the conference that partitioned Africa among European powers, were drawn with almost no reference to the political, cultural, ethnic, or ecological boundaries that actually organized African territorial life. The Berlin Conference borders were drawn by European diplomats solving a European institutional problem: how to divide the African continent among competing European empires without producing a European war. The lines were symbolic assertions of European authority, drawn in the symbolic medium of the European map, expressing European conceptions of territorial sovereignty, and imposed on African populations as the governing territorial reality, regardless of the symbolic boundaries that those populations had been inhabiting for generations. The post-colonial border's most documented consequence is the ongoing territorial conflicts that the Berlin Conference borders produced and that continue to produce. Conflicts in which the symbolic boundaries of pre-colonial African territorial organization are in ongoing tension with the politically imposed borders of the colonial period. The line on the map is a claim. The conflict is the claim being contested. Here is where the symbolic boundary analysis produces a precise diagnostic for contemporary border disputes. Every ongoing territorial conflict is a conflict between two competing sets of symbolic boundaries, and the symbolic boundary analysis reveals that the geographic territory in dispute is never the actual object of the conflict. The object of the conflict is always the symbolic assertion about where one authority system ends and another begins. This is always about identity. The territory is the medium. The Israeli-Palestinian border conflict is most illuminating when read as a symbolic boundary conflict rather than a territorial one. The geographic territory in dispute has been continuously inhabited by multiple populations with multiple symbolic boundary systems throughout its documented history. The conflict is not about which specific geographic features constitute a defensible border. It is about which symbolic boundary system, which assertion about who has legitimate authority over which territory and on what basis, will be recognized by the international institutional system as the authoritative one. The United States-Mexico border conflict is equally revealing as a symbolic boundary conflict. The 1848 Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, the treaty that drew the contemporary U.S.-Mexico border, imposed a specific symbolic boundary system on a geographic territory that had been organized by a different symbolic boundary system for the previous several centuries. The contemporary immigration conflict is not primarily about the geographic line between the two countries. It is about the competing symbolic assertions about who has legitimate authority to determine who crosses it and on what terms. The Russia-Ukraine conflict's Crimea and Donbass dimensions are legible as a symbolic boundary conflict. The same geographic territory is claimed by competing symbolic boundary systems, the Ukrainian sovereign territorial system, and the Russian cultural historical symbolic boundary system. And the military conflict is the physical imposition of one symbolic boundary system over another. The pattern does not stop there. The most consequential contemporary development in border symbolism is the emergence of digital borders, the geographic jurisdiction assertions of states over digital infrastructure, data flows, and internet architecture that are producing a symbolic boundary system for the digital world that reproduces the nation-state border's institutional logic in a domain where geographic boundaries have no natural application. If this investigation is worth continuing, signal it. The algorithm reads that as a vote for independent analysis. Here is the applicable lens. Every border is a symbolic assertion that someone made, that someone enforces, and that someone contests. The naturalness of any specific border, the sense that it simply describes where one country ends and another begins, is the product of its institutional entrenchment rather than of any geographic logic. The diagnostic practice. For any territorial dispute or border conflict, identify the competing symbolic boundary systems, the competing assertions about whose authority legitimately governs the disputed territory and on what basis. The geographic territory is the medium of the conflict. The symbolic assertion is its substance. The alternative symbolic boundary exercise. For any border you live near or think about, Ask what symbolic boundary system was operating in the same geographic space before the current border was imposed, who imposed the current border, and in response to what institutional problem, and what conflicts the imposition produced for the populations whose prior symbolic boundaries did not correspond to the imposed one. The next investigation examines exactly how three specific contemporary border conflicts, the U.S.-Mexico border, the Korean DMZ, and the emerging digital border between the U.S. and China, are each legible as symbolic boundary conflicts rather than geographic ones, and what the symbolic boundary analysis reveals about the institutional problems each conflict is actually expressing. Subscribe so you are there when it publishes. The question is not whether borders were originally drawn as symbolic boundaries before they were political ones. Newman's border theory, Barth's ethnic boundary research, Tilley's state formation analysis, and Herbst's African border documentation all confirm that they were. The question is, which symbolic assertion is currently being enforced as the natural geographic reality on the territory you inhabit, and who made that assertion? This investigation was produced with AI-assisted research tools and human editorial oversight. All claims are grounded in documented historical and institutional sources. Transparency is part of the methodology.